Hello everyone, thanks for joining me for this edition of MeteoMark's Weather. It's great to have you on the channel today. We're going to be looking at the tropics, see if hurricane season is truly over. We do have some tropical waves that are going to be impacting parts of the Caribbean from the Lesser Antilles to Central America with some gusty winds and some very heavy rain. We'll get into all the details. Also your winter storm outlook, especially for Eastern North America in particular, as we stretch through Thanksgiving into the first part of December. See which areas could stand the chance of seeing the heaviest snow and wintry conditions. And plus, if you haven't checked it out, I did release my 2025-26 winter forecast outlook for the entire winter season, which areas I think stand the chance of seeing the highest snowfall and cold this winter. So be sure to check that out. So link in the description down below and at the end of this video. Let's get into it. All right, so here we go for the tropics. We're going to start off with the GFS, and then I'll show you the European model in just a couple minutes from now. But you can see what we're dealing with here. We're dealing with some showers and thunderstorms just east of the central Lesser Antilles. We do have a little area of low pressure here, but nothing to really to worry about here. It's mainly going to be a rainmaker when it meets up with this tropical wave. We also have an area of storminess over here into the Northwest Caribbean. Same thing here. It's mainly going to be a rainmaker. This system's going to move towards Trinidad Tobago area right around, here it is, the 20th. So we're getting right into mid to late week here. Most of it's being sheared apart. You can see it's really having a hard time making it westward here. In fact, the moisture is heading eastward. So you can pretty well safely say we're just looking at a few showers here as we go through time across the Caribbean. You can safely say hurricane season is coming to a close. But here it is on the north shoreline here of Honduras as we head towards the 25th into the 26th. We do start to get some of these showers and thunder showers kicking up. Now, it's more prevalent on the European model, and that's what I'm about to show you here. We're going to take a look and see what's going on with our European model because it's showing a little bit more flare-ups. The GFS is not bringing these fronts down into the Northwest Caribbean. It's kind of hanging them up here across the Southern Gulf and Bay of Campeche area. You see this tropical wave here towards the 29th, just south of Jamaica. Jamaica looks pretty dry through this forecast period over to Haiti, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico as well. Cayman Islands, you'll start out with some moisture, but quickly getting dry here. And towards December 2nd, this is a pretty big tropical wave that's approaching Nicaragua and the northern part of Honduras here. And thanks to Tropical Tidbits for our European model analysis here. The good news is things are calming down in the tropics. We've got some showers as we head towards Monday into Tuesday across parts of the Cayman Islands, Jamaica, or just west of Jamaica. Jamaica looks pretty well dry for the most part. Dominican Republic, Haiti. Now look at here, Lesser Antilles, Trinidad Tobago area up to St. Vincent, St. Lucia area, all the way up to Puerto Rico, St. Croix. You could be looking at some gusty showers and thunder showers moving through Wednesday into Thursday with this tropical wave. So yeah, we're still dealing with some tropical waves here. That moves westward just south of Jamaica towards Friday the 21st here. And you can see as we go through time, is there any chances of very heavy rain? Well, with this high pressure off the U.S. East Coast, we're going to see these tropical waves steered further south here because that's going to exert this ridge of high pressure westward. Now, we do start to get a tail end of a front. That's going to interact with the tropical wave here across Honduras and Belize as we head towards Tuesday, November 25th. So that's going to pick up heavy rainfall totals, maybe some flooding potential here. Jamaica, you do start to get some showers around the 26th here, 27th with this little tropical wave that moves towards the Yucatan and Cancun here. But for the most part, you can see we really don't have anything like storm-wise to talk about here, so that's great. All we're going to look forward to is the potential for some heavy rain in some of these areas, especially Central America, parts of the Central and Southern Lesser Antilles as well. As we continue to see these tropical waves, and then the Northwest Caribbean, we do have this stalled frontal boundary by December 1st here. It's going to continue to hang out, especially the northern part of Honduras and Belize here with some heavier rain that we're going to have to watch out for. But for the most part, thankfully, Jamaica seems pretty dry over to Puerto Rico as well. Looking at our North Atlantic, Caribbean, Gulf water here, yeah, we're running a little degree or two above average here into the Caribbean, Western Atlantic as well. And here we are with rainfall amounts here on the European run across the Western Caribbean. Things are, you're going to notice here, things are calming down. That's some great news for the tropics, especially Jamaica. In Honduras, who saw tremendous rain You're going to see more rain in northern Honduras, parts of eastern Belize as we head towards the 26th, 27th here. But thankfully, it's not going to be like extreme like we just dealt with. But look at this. Yeah, some areas could be close to 300 millimeters here in northwestern part of Honduras here. A lot of this missing Belize, about 60 to 90 millimeters all the way up to Cancun. Parts of Jamaica, you're mostly 10 millimeters or less, except if you're over here towards Portland Parish where you get up to 70 millimeters. Dominican Republic and Haiti, nothing more than, say, 20 to 40 millimeters at most. Cayman Islands as well. And here we are for the GFS in the Western Caribbean here. So very similar to the European model. You can see the northern coastline of Honduras there, getting close, a little bit farther to the north on the GFS here, but you get the idea. So a lot of these areas getting close to 157 millimeters here in the extreme eastern parts of Honduras. Belize, you're right around the 60 to 90 millimeter mark as well. Very similar in Jamaica as well. So we'll keep an eye on things here. And stretching into the Eastern Caribbean with our European run, there's a little tropical wave moving through the Lesser Antilles over the next week through Thursday and Friday here. That's Trinidad, Tobago. It looks like you're the big winner for rainfall amounts here as we stretch through the following week as well through December 1st. Look at that. Some areas approaching 125 millimeters here towards Trinidad, Tobago, Barbados, St. Vincent, St. Lucia, these areas, probably about 60 to 90 millimeters. Puerto Rico and St. Croix, you're not eking out any more than, say, a quarter inch of rain. And here we are looking at the GFS model, similar to the European, showing Trinidad, Tobago area, Barbados, these areas. So, a little bit further to the north, you can see on the GFS, but you get the idea here. 100, 150 millimeters on average, all the way up further north, though, on the GFS. Puerto Rico, St. Croix, a little bit higher on the GFS here, 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch, some areas close to 1 to 2 inches. And parts of Eastern Dominican Republic, we'll have to keep an eye on this. Some areas 50 to close to 150, 175 millimeters here on the north central shore. Bahamas, you're looking about, say, 20 to 40 millimeters. Now, quickly, I just wanted to go over dry air. This is the reason why we're not going to see any tropical development, it seems. It's not just the dry air, but the wind shear here. But here's the dry air. We do get this moisture plume from this frontal boundary about the 25th. But look at all this mid-level dry air that's just sitting around the Caribbean here, except for the southern and, the extreme southern portion and the western portion here. So there you have it for that. And we're actually going to take a look at the upper dynamic wind shear as well. This is going to play a big role. Look at the northern Caribbean here. Some of these above 45, 50 knots, even into the eastern Caribbean. So you have some of these tropical waves entering. You're not going to really see development this time of year. I mean, it can happen. You can see right around the 29th and 30th, some of the wind shear slackens temporarily, but then you quickly pick up to like 30, 35, 40 knots here. So at this point, you can pretty well safely say tropical hurricane season has come to a close. All right, so checking out our feature radar here on the HRRR, the big story is going to be the snowfall up here into the Northeast Lake effect and some synoptic snow here as we stretch through Sunday evening. Really targeting New Brunswick here in northern and eastern Maine. But here it is. As we stretch into the overnight hours, let me just back this up to about 8, 9 p.m. on Sunday evening. You see these streamers coming off Lake Erie. They do have this upstream connection to the upper Great Lakes up here. So we're really going to get into some heavy snowfall here. Northwest Pennsylvania, western New York, upstate New York. Some of these areas could see, warning and advisory criteria, especially northwest Pennsylvania here, southwestern New York, where some totals could get 5 to 10 inch plus amounts here, even south of Syracuse as well. We're going to have to watch out for these snowfall bands as they continue on into the noon hour on Monday morning. You can see the 17th here. This lake effect band in eastern Erie County, Warren County through Elk County here, and even Forest County. So we're going to have to watch out for that. Also up here, I-81 corridor, the Finger Lakes, Cortland, Ithaca, Binghamton area. We'll be watching the snow band lift slowly northeast as winds switch a little bit more west-northwesterly here. So we'll watch out for that. And look what starts to move in. This is 7 a.m. on Tuesday morning. We get a mix going on here in Newark, Ohio here. So just northeast of Columbus, we could be looking at maybe an icy, snowy mix here. That quickly changes to rain as we head throughout the day. through 1 p.m. on Tuesday. You can see that rain heading into Pittsburgh as well. And this lake effect will slowly shut off here in upstate New York. Look at even some snow up here into southern Michigan. All right, so look at the HRRR future radar snowfall amounts here. You can see where these bands are going to orient themselves through Monday morning here. Look at that, Erie County, Crawford County, Northwest Pennsylvania, Warren County, McKean County here, Northern Elk County. That's where you're seeing those 6 to 9 inch totals. Look at that, those higher elevations, especially above 1,500 feet, they're going to see those. Look at that, though, Erie. You're close to the shoreline. That is where you're only going to get about an inch because the lake will keep you warmer. Same on the south side of Syracuse, southern Onondaga County, northern Cortland County here, Tompkins County. We're looking at about 7 to 11 inches in some of these areas, but most areas will see the 2 to 5 inch amounts. Binghamton, you're looking at about 2 to 3. Valley locations an inch or less here. Adirondacks, we'll pile it up on the north side here all the way up to Maine as well. So watch out. Could have maybe a Georgian Bay connection up here on the northern part of the Great Lakes. So we'll keep an eye on that. And looking at our wind analysis here, as we head on into Sunday evening here, we're going to be looking at some tremendous wind gusts here. Parts of Maryland, Pennsylvania, York, New Jersey area. We're looking at a tight pressure gradient here. This is, of course, going to increase your aches and pains index through the roof here as that pressure gradient really tightens. 40 to 45 mile per hour gusts. Thankfully, Monday morning they toned down to 35, but that's still a lot. And then throughout the day, the diurnal heating here through noon and 1 p.m. Look at this. Some ridge tops there in parts of the eastern Catskills up to 57 miles an hour. This pulls into New England as well. Not as much, but there we go. We finally get that out of the way. And then we get another area, another push later in the week here. We get along the East Coast, so we're seeing some big time winds. This is Tuesday the 25th. Look at this, right off the coast, heading right up the northeast corridor. Another gusty front moving through. Okay, so we're going to pick up where our future radar left off here. As we head throughout the week, lake effect's going to pull out as we head into later Monday and Tuesday. Now, this feature is really interesting. We're going to have some wet snow on the northern side, Cleveland to Detroit. This is around 1 p.m. on the 18th. So we're getting into Tuesday here, up to Detroit, southern Wisconsin here. This is going to be, a stretch to get any significant snow, but you get some wet snow on the north side of this system, maybe 1 to 2 inches. That slides off the coast. We set up high pressure here. Look at Florida, looks pretty dry down and through here. We're going to watch this storm system across the southern plains. It's actually a Colorado low that's ejecting out here into the plains. We got some energy overriding here into the northeast as well. And there we go. Looks like a little fanfare here. The European does blow this up bigger, which I'll show you in a minute or two here. This kind of tries to go coastal here on November 23rd. Very little effect, though, just the Outer Banks briefly. And then look at this. We get a little clipper moving through parts of the eastern lakes and northern New England here as we head towards the 24th into the 25th. Now, look towards Thanksgiving here. This is the 26th. So there's a warm front, obviously, in here with this storm system. You can see some heavy wet snow breaking out on the northeast side of Ohio here, western Pennsylvania, but that's quickly moving to the northeast. Warm air winds out here, and it looks like maybe the 28th. So as we're getting the day right after Thanksgiving, there might be some wet snow on the northern fringe of this through parts of the Appalachians, northern West Virginia, through just the north side of Harrisburg and Allentown. That's something we'll have to keep an eye on. It is a fast-moving progressive system, though, on this model run, so we'll have to keep an eye on it. But this system towards the 30th, GFS has been hinting at this the last couple model runs. You can see this heavy wet snow on the north side. Chicago, Detroit, Erie, Cleveland, Buffalo. We might be looking at some heavy snow here. Depends on where this rain-snow line sets up as it moves through the eastern Great Lakes. But here it is, December 1st into the 2nd. You can see another system trying to take effect out here and organize out into the Central Plains. High pressure building into the east. And picking up where our future radar left off here with our winter storm outlook. Let's see here. As we go through Tuesday, you can see some overrunning precipitation here in the Ohio Valley. It's going to be mostly light with some convection on the southern side of it through the Appalachians here. Maybe a few stray snowflakes here into central Pennsylvania as we get into early Wednesday morning. But so far this week, we're looking like the big story is this big Colorado low push across the southern and central plains. And that's going to push a lot of moisture here to the east, the Ohio Valley, and up into the eastern Great Lakes next Saturday. We're going to be warming up into the 50s and even near 60 degrees in some of these areas. You can see another surge of moisture here with this. This looks too warm for wintry precipitation as well as we head on into Thanksgiving week here, November 24th. You can see this low cutting up through the St. Lawrence Valley and Adirondacks. It looks convective here next Tuesday, November 25th here. So we might have severe weather all the way up into southern New England here. Look at that, a squall line as this tries to go coastal. Maybe some wet snowflakes on the backside of this, but it's pretty nil for the most part as the precipitation really cuts off. Then we get a little clipper here moving through, mostly rain, but maybe some wet snowflakes on the northern side for Thanksgiving Day. So we'll have to watch out for that. Maybe some wintry precipitation here into parts of the lower Great Lakes. The northern side of this low, you can kind of see there's going to be a warm front pushing through to the north. So depending on where you are, the rain snow line, look at this, snowflakes all the way down to northern Arkansas and Oklahoma. And for those of you in Texas, we might be pushing the freezing line pretty far south here. Look at that rain snow line moving up through the central Great Lakes here. Another Ohio Valley low, though, so that pushes the rain snow line further north and west here. So for you, those of you that like the snow, here is the day after, here it is, Thanksgiving day after Thanksgiving. Here it is, Friday, the 28th into the 29th. So it looks like mostly rain here for the Northeast Mid-Atlantic. You see a convective line moving through central Pennsylvania here, eastern Pennsylvania. Looks like another potential wind and severe weather event. You see these ISO bars here? Look at this. This is a 985 millibar low across southern Quebec. So you know there's going to be some tremendous wind with this system. We've been getting a lot of wind as of late here. That pushes up into the Canadian Maritimes, and cold high pressure builds in for December 1st. And here we are with liquid equivalent precipitation here on our European run. You can see as we head through this week, it's pretty nil until we get to the end of the week. We get to that big system across the plains, and then a surge of moisture across parts of Kentucky, Tennessee here, some areas close to 6 to 10 inches there. Parts of central eastern Ohio, western New York, Pennsylvania, good solid soaking, 2.5, 3 inches. So we'll watch out for that. And we're going to start seeing systems really push a lot of moisture up into the Ohio River Valley. This lines up with my winter storm outlook for the entire winter season. I expected precipitation to really increase across this region. And here we are with the GFS liquid equivalent. There's the Great Lakes, those snow bands coming off. And then later in the week, looks like the GFS not going all in with the heaviest precipitation up here late week. But there it is, GFS continuing to show more southern flow across the southern plains and then into the central Appalachians here, east coast as well. There's kind of a hole in precipitation here, especially into parts of the I-95 corridor of the northeast. And here's our snowfall amounts here on the GFS. You can see the lake effect, those streamers. Northern New England, the White Green Mountains, northern Adirondacks could get up to a foot. Northern Maine getting clipped a few times here over the next week. You see that's mostly Sunday night and Monday initially, but look at this. Yeah, the GFS kind of showing. It's not until about the end of the month we start to see on the northern fringes here. Look at Chicago, Detroit area, 6 to 10 inches in some of these areas. We'll have to see if some of this gets into the northeast, eastern Great Lakes as well. And here we are for the European run snowfall amounts. You can see here as we continue to go through time, European shows absolutely nothing except the Great Lakes here through this time period. So there it is on the northern fringe. Northwest Ohio, Indiana. We're getting into that day after Thanksgiving weekend there. Parts of southern Michigan. We'll have to watch because this rain snow line is going to bounce around. So it could get pretty interesting here. Some areas getting upwards of 12 inches, 6 to 12 inches plus. And here's the snow belts, northern Adirondacks, Green White Mountains. Yeah, these areas. This translate. Look at eastern Canada up here. And Robert Stone from the Jamestown, New York area this past Tuesday, really early morning before sunrise, so to speak here. Look at this. Wow, the white fluffy stuff just piling up here. Looks beautiful. I think this was his first, significant snowfall accumulation of the season here. You can see it just piling up, not just on the ground, but the bushes, the trees, everything. A sight to behold, looking very... It kind of gets us in the mood for Christmas almost here. It's looking really nice, and this is pretty early, so this could be a sign of things to come for this winter. Look at that. Just piling up so nicely there, that nice fluffy accumulation. And speaking of Christmas here, Robert getting us in the Christmas spirit here with not just snow, but Christmas tree as well. So looking really nice here, getting us in that Christmas mood. You can see some beautiful ornaments, and not just that, the lights just flashing about here. Look at these ornaments. Some of these are a nice blast from the past as well. Look at this. Looking really nice and festive there, Robert. Thank you so much for sharing this. It is looking stunning. And getting a look right outside his door here. Outside, look at that. Beautiful bushes with some of those nice Christmas lights from the porch to the bushes. It's looking stunning there. Nice captures, Robert. Getting us all in the Christmas and holiday mood here. And before we continue with more weather coverage, don't forget, if you haven't already subscribed yet, subscribe, bell notification button, smash that like button, everyone. If you love this video, please, it really does help the video, gets more exposure. Question or comment down below. I'd love to read your questions or comments. And don't forget, if you haven't checked out my winter 2025-26 winter complete outlook, it's a link in the description down below. Also at the end of this video, I go over what I think is going to happen this winter. Let's continue with more weather coverage. So looking at our NAO index here, you can see we're very negative now, but that's the thing, as we head towards Thanksgiving and later on into November, early December, we're going to head towards a neutral phase. Looking at our MJO index here, we're going to just hover around phase 6 here. Maybe phase 7 and 5 at times, but mainly phase 6 over the next month to month and a half. And looking at our upper air pattern here on our European run, you can see that trough pulling out of the northeast, being replaced by a ridge late week here. That's going to bring warmer temperatures and rainfall. Some stormy conditions at times on the western part of this ridge. Now, as we head towards Monday, the 24th, we're getting into Thanksgiving week. We do have a trough that moves through Tuesday, the 25th here, so we'll have to watch, but quickly being replaced by a ridge Thanksgiving Day. So it looks like weather could be better here across the east. But look at this, that, later on Thanksgiving weekend, Friday into Saturday, we're being replaced by a big storm system. We'll have to watch and see where that rain-snow line sets up. So looking here over into the western Pacific, you can see what's going on. There's actually nothing really. There's a lot of tropical moisture hanging out across Vietnam. Look at up here towards South Korea. You're dry, clear as a bell up here. Same for Japan at this point. Look at Asia. Looks really, really dry as high pressure just builds in. You got double barrel high up here. Is there any chance of typhoons? Well, we don't have to worry about typhoons here in this part of Asia through South Korea and Japan. You're pretty well protected by frontal boundaries. Been getting a lot of snow up here towards Hokkaido. But look at this. We got this area of low pressure just hanging out. Northern Philippines, you're going to get some heavy rain. Vietnam, it looks like you're going to slowly dry out through the 16th because you're going to start out with some very heavy rain. We want to watch this feature here. This may be the only show in town as we head towards the 28th of November. This could actually develop into something and head towards initially the Philippines. It does get caught up with this frontal boundary on this model run, so we'll have to keep an eye on it here. But look at up here. There's literally no rain from Shanghai to Seoul, South Korea, over to Tokyo here. Just northern parts of Japan really getting hit up here. And here we are looking at Western Pacific rainfall totals. So with Vietnam, Northern Philippines here as we go through time over the next week, and then we stretch on 2 weeks out here. Northern Japan getting hit a lot of snow. So you can see here the Northern Philippines, 500, 600 millimeters. Parts of Vietnam here, close to 1,000 millimeters here in parts of the central part of Vietnam. That's crazy. And then we get up here into Japan. This is all cold weather systems. The mountains in Hokkaido up here just getting buried. So for our Canadian weather outlook, so proud to bring this because the GFS precipitation depiction is back on our maps here and it's working. You can see as we stretch through Monday into Tuesday, you can see, we have this low up here into the Canadian Maritimes. It's just blasting about, but right now it looks like this is a pretty quiet week. West Coast, you'll see some more storminess, especially later in the week as we head towards the 20th into the 21st. So heavy mountain snow, valley rain. This little feature is a little Alberta clipper moving through southern Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and then eventually southern and central parts of Ontario. Could bring a burst of heavier snow as we head towards the 20th into the 21st towards Quebec. You see this kind of takes, a little bit of a negative tilt, so to speak. Northern New Brunswick here getting some heavy wet snow. We'll go over those snowfall amounts momentarily. Another system moving through Hudson Bay up here. It'll bring some snow showers on the southern end of it. But for the most part, this system looks pretty interesting as we head towards the 25th into the 26th. Southern Manitoba and Saskatchewan here, we could be looking at some heavier snow here. So that's something we're going to have to keep a close watch on. The northern Midwest here as well as it spreads eastward here. So definitely keeping an eye on some of these systems. But as things get more stormy in the United States, we're going to kind of suppress a lot of these storms south of the U.S.-Canadian border and get really cold here. That's what's happening here through December 2nd here. Look at this. Almost nothing except around the edges. The Canadian Maritimes is massive low over here, and then the west coast over towards British Columbia. But look at everything in between. Maybe some snow showers here in southern Manitoba and Saskatchewan. And looking at liquid equivalent precipitation amounts on the European run here, you can see across Canada, it's going to line up pretty well with the snowfall amounts since a lot of your precipitation will be snow, except there into extreme eastern Canada there. Look at that. Yeah, some of this will be in the form of rain or wet snow mixed in. But look at that. Yeah, some areas approaching 100, 125 millimeters here. West Coast as well, 200 plus millimeters expected. Here in the red, we're seeing 60 to 90 millimeters on average. And here we are for Canadian snowfall amounts here. Yeah, it's going to be Quebec here. Let's go with this. So here we are. We're piling it up in Quebec, western British Columbia. Yeah, Quebec in the east, that's where most of the storms are going to lie, although you can see towards the end of the month, southern Ontario does start to get into some of this as well. Of course, the mountains here, 70 centimeters plus, but look at here into parts of southern Ontario and Quebec. Some of these areas could see, if we look on the scale here, close to 15 to 30 plus centimeters of snowfall. This is getting into western parts of New Brunswick as well, maybe 10 to 15 centimeters in some areas. All right, so temperatures-wise, look at this, yeah. Parts of New England, interior northeast, it is mid-November, so we're looking at 30s for highs, 40s in the Ohio Valley. Look at the Gulf Coast, though. Many areas in the upper 70s to lower 80s. As we stretch on into Tuesday, November 18th, you can see, yeah, this actually isn't too bad for mid-November. A lot of 40s, upper 30s here into parts of northern New York, northern New England. We start to see 70s getting into southern parts of Missouri here, 40s in the Ohio Valley. That translates to 50s by Wednesday. You can see this push of warmer air. So we're eroding the colder air. We're bringing back in warmer air by Thursday. Look at that. Cleveland, 54, 58 in Pittsburgh, 50 over towards Jamestown, New York. So we're starting to get this warming trend ensue into Friday, November 21st. Look at this. 63 in Pittsburgh. So the warm air is on the east side of a system, but there's the cold front. If you can call it much of a cold front, you have mainly 40s and upper 30s behind it, but there's no areas really below freezing here. Extended forecast for hometown viewers, bring them to the Scranton, Zipper, Susquehanna, River Valley, New York, and Pennsylvania. So we stretch from Monday through Friday here. This is going to be a pretty wintry start. Monday morning you'll wake up to snow, probably about an inch or so in most areas. We will make it up towards the upper 30s. Wind gusts as high as 30, 40 miles an hour, so watch out, blowing and drifting snow potential. Monday night and Tuesday, we're going to clear it out a bit, up towards the low to mid 40s into Wednesday, sunny skies Thursday as well. But we're going to bring that warm front in Thursday night and Friday. Showers likely. We'll head up towards the mid to high 50s on Friday. Plenty more weather to come. Here is a look at my affiliate. Check out these awesome, amazing maps. I am proud to announce that I am now an affiliate with Trilogy Maps. TrilogyMaps.com, bringing you the most digital, customizable maps found nowhere else on the internet. These maps are simply stunning. It's an advanced layering system that makes these maps great for making forecast maps with ease or any other maps that you would like to display important information on. The resolution on these maps is simply amazing. From the detail of everything here in the States, and you can also create stunning, digital, professional layered maps from also across the entire world. And don't forget, in checkout, the discount code option, use my code, MeteoMark, hit apply, and you will get 20% off your order. So if you want the most professional, customizable, and affordable weather maps found nowhere else on the internet, look no further than TrilogyMaps.com. Link in the description down below along with your discount code. As always, thank you for joining me for this edition of MeteoMark's Weather. Also, don't forget to join me on Facebook at MeteoMark, also Weather Northeastern, also Twitter at Weather Eastern. Don't forget it's MeteoMark.com, and don't forget, if you want to send me a coffee, there is a link, super thanks. You can smash that super thanks button or my PayPal link in the description down below. You can buy me a cup of coffee. Thanks everyone, share that video, subscribe if you haven't, smash that like button.